What's up, everybody? It's Punk Rock Talk, episode 37. Today, my guest is David Disorder with Direct Action Shirts. I'm excited to get David on here and talk with him. We've talked a lot over the last couple of years through text messages and Instagram messages, but we've never actually been able to have like a full conversation. So I'm really looking forward to this interview. Right now, you're listening to Wolfskin Killer by Zombeast. Shout out to my good buddy Jared, guitarist for Zombeast. Known him for a long, long time. Toured with him back in the day when he was in a band called the Aviotics. But if you like horror punk, Zombeast is definitely a band that you should check out. They've been inactive for quite a while. But I heard that there was some movement on a project a while back that Jared was working on. I'm not sure what the latest is of that, but he's definitely a very talented guy, and this is right up his alley, this kind of stuff. So if you like this kind of music, you need to check out Zombeast. Having said that, this episode of Punk Rock Talk and every episode of Punk Rock Talk is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor, Dead and Buried Inc. Are you in a band? Do you need merchandise? They are your source. T-shirts, buttons, patches, stickers, bandanas, banners, posters, you name it, they can do it. You can find them here on Instagram at Dead and Buried Inc. That's Dead and Buried Inc. INC, not INK. Or online at their website, deadandburiedinc.com. This episode of Punk Rock Talk is also brought to you by Rebellion Noise Records. And you're looking at Punk Rock Attack Volume 1 right here. These are finally ready to go. I've been promoting the 40 Fest sampler for the last few months, but now we finally have Punk Rock Attack Volume 1. It's got a lot of great bands on it. And if you would like a copy of this, you can find it not only at the merch table of the bands that are on it, which include the Havoc, Destructiflux, Goners UK, Crime Time, The Parasitics, and Dead 77. But you can also get a copy right from our website. So if you search for Rebellion Noise Records here on Instagram and go to the link in our bio, you'll be taken to our Square site where you can order both of these samplers at no cost to you. It's free. We just have a flat rate shipping cost of $5. So as long as you pay the shipping, we're going to send it to you for free. And who knows, we might even throw in some other cool shit, not just the CD. There is also a Venmo QR code there. If you would like to make a donation to Rebellion Noise Records, you can do that by scanning the QR code. This label from the get-go has just been funded by the artists. So donations go back to our efforts so that we can continue to put out new samplers, more music, more bands, and who knows what else we might come up with in the near future. Having said that, I've got one more thing I want to promote here. If you've been paying attention every week, I always mention this because I believe it's a super important cause. It is the GoFundMe for our good friend Brittany, the drummer for Oil Change. You can find the link to this GoFundMe on Oil Change's Instagram page in their bio. Brittany is requiring heart surgery. I'm assuming it's probably going to be sometime early next year. But as of now, insurance is not covering the surgery. And before, they were not covering any of the other tests that were being conducted. I spoke to her fairly recently, and she told me that they were able to get the insurance company to budge on that. And so now they are going to cover those tests and those doctor visits. So that's an excellent win. And I'm so happy that there's some progress being made there. But again, the actual surgery, if you've ever had surgery before, you know how expensive it is, not to mention heart surgery. So if you have a heart, you can contribute to this. Again, the link is in Oil Change's Instagram bio. And I am just wishing Britt the best with this. I know she's going to come out on the other side. So one more thing, Oil Change is playing one more show this year in December in Hollywood with the Peppermint Creeps, who've been inactive for the last 10 years. It's a 10-year reunion show. If you're not familiar, Brittany's dad was the drummer for Peppermint Creeps before he passed away. So this is a really exciting opportunity for Oil Change to play for the Southern California audience, but also for her to be connected to her dad in a unique way and his bandmates. So yeah, if you're in the Southern California area, you need to check that out. I believe the date is December 17th. But that information is also on their Instagram. Okay. Having said all of that, I think it's about time we get David on here. So I'm going to go ahead and send him the invitation. If you are watching this and you have questions for myself or David during the course of this interview, just tap that question mark icon on your device and you can submit your questions there. Please don't put them in the comment section. And guys, you can ask us about anything. It doesn't have to be just about David's screen printing company and his shirts, or myself and the Havoc. It could be about literally whatever. We're in October right now. Halloween's just around the corner. So if you want to talk horror, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. You can ask those questions. All right. Invitation has been sent. Get David on here. Here we go. Are you there, David?
Oh. Hi, Jason. It's nice to be here.
What's up, buddy?
Hi, man. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, man. I'm happy to be here.
Dude, I'm liking the hockey mask, the ski mask.
Yes, of course. And as you mentioned it, it's Halloween. So this is not just a costume. This is a lifestyle, you know?
Amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
You know, my birthday is on the 29th of October, and my due date was actually Halloween.
Nice. Okay. Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you, brother. But yeah, my whole life, man, I've always loved Halloween, and I've always felt like, you know, Halloween is every day, basically. It's all up here.
It's probably my favorite holiday of the year, if it's even a holiday, but it's probably my favorite one.
Let's talk a little bit about that, man, because it's just appropriate for this time of year. What's your favorite Halloween memory? Like maybe your favorite costume that you wore as a kid, or like experience trick-or-treating or something like that. What's your favorite memory?
So I think in like the like 90s, early 90s, I think Halloween in Germany was not really a big thing, especially in East Germany where I came from. And there were barely any people or any kids in costumes. So I think my Halloween was basically just watching all the classic 80s horror movies as a kid, but not really like nobody went out to trick or treat or anything back in the days in Germany. I think it's like these days it's like way more popular than it is or was back in the days.
Very interesting. You know, I mean, I'm so used to the idea of Halloween and trick or treating because it's, you know, it's always been so popular in this country.
Yeah.
But for, you know, the audience, for people that don't know who you are, uh, I'm glad that you mentioned that you're from Germany. You don't
Yes.
currently live in Germany. Tell the audience where you're at now and what brought you to where you're at.
So yeah, originally I'm from Berlin, Germany, or the Berlin suburbs. But around 5 years ago, I moved to the United States because I met a wonderful woman, and we are married now. And now we are currently living in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming.
You know, the first time I started talking to you and you told me that you lived in Wyoming, I was like, who the fuck,
Yeah,
especially in the punk scene, is
yeah,
like, yeah, I'm gonna move to Wyoming.
and it is hard to find like punks here. Um, And I think I'm living in the biggest or second biggest town, which still has only a population of around 50,000 people, 55,000 people. But it's rare. Like punk is very rare, especially when you come from a punk scene in Berlin, Germany, where there's squats and punk shows everywhere. And yeah,
Right.
I definitely have to
Um,
get used to it to be here in the US now.
you also organized a punk festival that you put on annually in Germany. Um, and I'm sure that there are people in the audience that would like to hear more about that. So, why don't you tell the audience what the name of your festival was, and you know, kind of how it started, and maybe if there are any future plans for it.
So the festival was called Escape the Boeing Life. I don't even remember why I've chosen that name, but I started the first one, the Escape the Boring Life Volume 1 Fest, was happening in 2018 in Berlin, and I got the request from Mike Virus, because he was still playing or he wanted to play again with his band Cheap Sex. And I guess he was supposed to play a show in the UK in Blackpool, and then he asked me if I can book one Germany show for him. And that's somehow how the fest started, because basically Mike Virus reached out and asked, "Hey, can Sheep Sex play a show in Germany in Berlin?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess I can make that happen." And then I just got more and more band requests, like Monster Squad, the Ruffians from Canada, and so on. And all of a sudden, it just turned into a fest.
Very cool, man. I love Mike Virus and Cheap Sex. You know, long history with those guys, and Mike Virus is one of those persons, man, that is just genuinely an excellent human being.
Yes, I've met him a few times here in the US, and I think he's very genuine and he is very friendly. He's a very nice person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him in January when we're going to be playing 40 Fest and they're playing 40 Fest. So it'll be nice to finally see him again in person, but also to see Cheap Sex play again because I haven't seen them play since,
I I
man,
haven't
a
seen
long time.
I haven't seen Cheap Sex at all, so I was kind of excited, but they sadly had to cancel the whole Europe trip in 2018 because I think one of the band members had, I think, surgery, heart surgery, some kind of problems in the hospital, so they had to cancel the whole show.
Right. Yeah, that's a bummer. And Mike has had some other like health scares kind of recently. Um, and they were kind of unsure if they were going to proceed with some of the other shows that they had booked.
Yeah.
But last I heard, everything is still a go for that. So,
Yeah, and just today I actually seen that they are, I guess, playing Rebellion Fest in next year in the UK, and I guess they are looking for shows in Germany. So maybe next year, Escape the Boeing Live Volume 3 Fest with Sheepsex. Maybe.
that would be really cool, man. I'd love to see you be able to resurrect that. I know that the whole COVID thing really impacted, live shows in general and
Yeah.
anyone that was a promoter. And we're still bouncing back from a lot of that. And, if you were able to bring your fest back post COVID and have some great bands on it,
No,
that'd
absolutely,
be amazing,
absolutely.
man.
Yeah, I was able to book in 2019. I had Escape the Boeing Live Volume 2. Headliner was supposed to be Conflict with Total Chaos and as escalated, and Conflict had to cancel too. And I don't know why, but every time I try to book a fest like the Escape the Boeing Live, the main headliner is canceling. So uh,
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of it comes down to travel and money.
yes, exactly, yeah. And I get it. Conflict, they're like in their 50s now, almost probably like 60 almost. So it's hard getting them out of bed.
Yeah, and like the other challenge that so many bands are facing is that we live in a world now where you you can't risk losing your job.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the cost of living has skyrocketed
Yeah,
everywhere, but wages haven't really increased.
exactly. And
So
it's the same with the cost of flights, of travel. So if it is hard for me to bring a US band to Europe to play, let's say, one show in Germany, it would not be profitable for everybody. Like,
yeah.
everybody would just lose money and it just makes no sense. Otherwise, I would, for example, like invite you guys with a Havoc to play my fest, but it is hard money-wise.
Yeah, we've been in talks with uh, our label in Europe, Voltage Records,
Okay.
about coming to Europe next year. And there's like a couple festivals out there that they're looking into potentially having us on.
Yeah,
But like the thing is, like, if we go there, we've got to kind of make it worth our while. We can't just go there and play
exactly.
one show.
Exactly, yeah. And I feel like if you're, especially for bands from America, it needs to be at least 2 weeks or at least over 1 week to get the money back in for the flights and the cost.
Yeah. It's tough because I mean, for me personally, Europe is like one of the places that's been on my bucket list forever.
Yeah,
I've never been to Europe.
not
Uh,
even as a tourist.
not even as a
Yeah,
tourist. Um, and it's always been my dream to see other places in the world,
yeah,
not just as a tourist, but to go there and to play music there.
yeah, yeah, of course.
I really wish that the Havoc would have had an opportunity to do that in the early 2000s, but it just didn't come together. Um,
Did I don't remember if you guys had a label back in early 2000 in Europe.
no, we were just exclusively the Punkcore records.
Okay.
Yeah. But back then, Punkcore had excellent distribution. They had worldwide distribution.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember the times. Yeah, when there was punkrock was also big in Europe
Yeah.
at the time. Like many kids in the mid 2000s when they discovered all the Global Threat and all those bands, it
Yeah.
was really popping.
Yeah. It was a really exciting time for punk rock, man, especially street punk. Like it felt like it was kind of this rebirth of like early 80s hardcore punk,
Yeah,
you know? Um, but it wasn't small. I mean, it was everywhere.
yeah. Even in Germany, I think even punkcore, when they released Es Eskaliert as the German band on the label, that street punk in Germany or Europe was also uprising around that time in the mid 2000s.
Right.
It was a great time for punk rock, definitely.
I think that we'll see, more of that in the future. I think that in some ways it's thriving right now, even though it's smaller. It still
Yeah,
feels like, the people that are involved in the scene today are very active,
yeah,
um, and trying to do a lot to keep it moving and growing.
yeah.
Uh,
Which is
and I,
personally for me hard to see because I'm literally just living in Wyoming. So
yeah,
the only scene that I see growing is like on the internet, you know. So I see like great fests that the bands like Corrupted Youth are setting up in Los Angeles and California, all the backyard shows. They're awesome. And there's great people in Oklahoma City. They're having great bands.
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I don't go to shows fairly often. And it's not that I don't want to. It's just
Yeah,
that my life is so busy, especially since we had our daughter. And she's 15
yeah,
months now.
I
It's just
understand. Yeah,
a handful.
absolutely.
So I'm kind of, watching everything from my phone. I follow all these different bands and, important people in the scene to see what they're doing. So I'm
Exactly. Same.
it's just kind of my window into what's going on. And then also this, like being able to have guests on here and to talk to them about what they're doing in their scene, has been really eye-opening for me to see kind of where we're
Yeah.
at with things.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that you guys came back and that you especially put so much effort into your label and this punk rock podcast, punk rock talk. I definitely hope that it helps new kids, the younger ones, getting into the scene. Oh, I definitely appreciated what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate hearing that from you, man. That means a lot. It is, it's very time consuming. Um,
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm devoted to it for a couple of reasons. Um, One of them being, this is our, us returning with a new record and all of that is something that we don't take lightly. Um,
yeah,
when we decided that we were going to do it was kind of like, okay, we don't want to be one of these bands that's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. It's like, nah, man, we're
yeah.
going to do this. And we're going to do it 100% all the way. But the other thing is like, I tell people all
You
the
guys
time,
have been you guys have been gone for a while, so I bet it's like hard coming back, or is it? Is
it,
it
it,
tough to come back?
I think for me personally, I can't really speak for the rest of the band, but for me personally, a lot of it kind of stemmed from moving back to Oklahoma from Los Angeles, because this is like my stomping grounds. And like when I got into the punk scene, I was a teenager, here in Oklahoma. So when I moved back, I was just like, I had all of these memories of growing up and like
Yeah,
getting into the scene and whatever. So that kind of provided a shift for me. But also like, I didn't want to do this if like we weren't, you know, serious about it and we didn't really want to do it. And for
yeah,
years I wanted to play different styles of music. Um,
yeah. I remember that you guys had like different bands. They were more
yeah,
into like the rock and roll and metal a little bit.
right. Um, and I think a lot of that just has to do with like I've always been a pretty ambitious person, but as far as being a musician is concerned, like I've never wanted to be stagnant. I've always searched for growth, and
Yeah,
playing different genres of music helps with that.
yeah, absolutely. And I myself understand it a lot because I've done a lot of things, like booking shows, which started around 10 years ago. I had a punk rock fanzine for a while, which is longer than 10 years ago. Now I'm screen printing punk shirts. So, yeah, I always try to do something new. So I understand you completely.
Let's talk about your silkscreen business, direct
Yeah,
action. Um, a lot of people that know who you are uh, have learned about you because of the shirts that you've made. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
a lot of badass shirts, man.
Thank-
You're welcome. But let's talk about like how that started for you,
Yeah.
um, and educate the audience a little bit about some of the collaborations that you've done in the past, especially in the recent past.
Okay. So it started basically when I moved to the United States. My English, of course, is still bad. Like I have a very tough, like hard accent and stuff. But 5 years ago, the first time when I came to the US, my English was even worse. And I thought that it's like maybe hard for me finding like a job, like an average kind of job with the language barrier and stuff. And so I thought, okay, well, I have to try something that I can do myself where I don't have to talk to people. And and I always had the fascination with making stuff. As I said earlier, with like that I had a punk rock fanzine, so I wanted to figure out and learn how to make punk rock shirts. And one of the aspects was that I was kind of bored. If you go to like most punk rock online shops, like let's say Angry Young and Poor or whoever, most of these designs that you find are basically all very generic. They are all the same. It doesn't matter where you go, it's always the same discharge shirt with the same skull on it and stuff. And I was kind of like bored of it, so I decided, okay, if I print punk shirts, I'm gonna try to come up with own designs that are basically then limited to like 5 or 10. And yeah, that's at first I started basically to just make shirts for myself, and then I had people that asked me, "Hey, can I have one?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I can like print you one too." And then it just became bigger and bigger, and yeah, now I basically it's a full-time job to print shirts.
Yeah, I know firsthand what that's like. It's a very involved process that most
Exactly.
people don't understand, and like especially if they're ordering shirts and they want more than one color,
Yeah,
and you have to explain to them, okay, well, for each color, that means that we have to burn
and
an
the screen.
individual
Yeah,
screen.
exactly.
And then not only that, but like with each screen that you burn, there's a setup charge for that.
Yeah,
And so people that want like 5 or 6 color t-shirts, uh
it's definitely getting costs. It's very cost, like many costs, of course,
yeah,
and it's time consuming.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
especially if you're the one printing them, because uh lining up the colors is
yeah,
not easy. uh
exactly.
it's another one of those things where like you have to really pay attention to the details to make sure that the colors line up properly. Otherwise, the
Exactly.
design
Otherwise, it
doesn't
just
look right at
looks
all.
bad. Yeah. But
Um,
but but to this point, I can say if I come up with a design, I still the main factor is still that I want the specific band on a shirt for myself. So my main reason is not to sell stuff because I could print shirts of whatever is out there that is selling like gold, But
sure.
I still just choose often like underground bands because I prefer to have a shirt for myself. And sometimes I end up not selling a single shirt of the design that I made, which is still fine in the end because I have one for myself, you know?
Yeah. Um, let's talk about some of the collaborations that you've done. Um, the most recent one that I recall is you did several designs for Defiance, promoting their new record, and you
Yes.
did these really awesome vinyl turntable covers.
Yeah. Lip mats for the record player. I don't really know how to call it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was super fucking
Yeah.
cool, man. I love those.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're
Yeah.
welcome,
So
man.
a collaboration with Defiance because they asked me if I can print some of their shirts, and then I just started designing again, making collages, Pongo collages, and they loved it. And they said, dude, just print us like 50 shirts or something, you know? The same, I made myself a Casualties long sleeve of Under Attack, the album, and I was actually not planning to make any more than just one for myself. And the dudes of the Casualties actually were then hitting me up, messaging me, and we're like, okay, we are like going on tour soon. Can you do us like a limited one of white long sleeves of the Under Attack album cover? And yeah, that's just how it goes. It just, well, I like the bands. The bands, I guess, like the stuff that I'm doing, so it's perfect.
It's a collaborative effort, man. And
Yeah,
that's like what's so great about the punk scene is, you know, we're a community and like we're supporting
exactly.
each other.
That's probably the reason why I'm in the punk scene now since a little bit over 20 years, and that's probably the main reason why I've like never left, because it's like a family, and of course you have sometimes you have black sheep in your family, you know,
Right.
and but the greatest people I've ever met are definitely punks. Oh,
It's funny how that works because a lot of people, you know, I guess what you would refer to as normal people, they
yeah,
see, you know, somebody that looks punk rock and they're like, oh man, that person's definitely fucked up in the head. And
yeah,
it's
like
usually
if
the
I
other
go
way
out,
around.
yeah, or that they think like people, for example, think that I'm a criminal, or you know, because of tattoos and stuff, you know, the typical stereotype.
Right.
Um,
Um, before we proceed any further, I want to take a minute to address the audience and say, if you have questions for myself or for David, you can submit them by tapping that question mark icon on your device. We're getting really close to the live Q&A portion of the show, and I see that there's already been some questions submitted there. So that is awesome. But go ahead and take this opportunity, guys. Ask away. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it's your moment. Um, let's talk a little bit more about Halloween and
yeah,
horror.
I
Uh,
love it.
yeah, same here, man. I've got
Mhm.
to ask you about. There's a lot of new horror movies that have come out this month. I don't know if you pay attention to any of the contemporary horror, or if you're strictly like the the old school horror shit. But have you
To be
seen
honest,
any of the newer ones?
I try to pay attention, but in the recent years, there's like lots of like warming up. Like it's like eating leftover soup. Like it can be good, but most of the time it's like leftovers. I don't know. For example, the new Halloween movies, I'm not the biggest fan of them. And I heard there's like another one out right now. And I have not seen it, but so far from all feedback that I'm getting, I think I heard that it's also ass. Uh, I enjoyed actually the Black Phone, the movie The Black Phone. I guess it was written by the son of Stephen King. I thought that was kind of nice.
That's cool. I
Uh,
didn't know that.
yeah, and I don't know if I've seen any kind of other horror movies lately, but if you know any, please let me know.
Yeah, mentioning the new Halloween.
Yeah,
They started this new series of it in 2018, and it's supposed to be a trilogy. This is the final film in the trilogy. Um,
did you
and
watch it so far?
I've watched. I watched 2018, and I watched Halloween Kills, which was the second one. This one is
Yeah,
Halloween
those those
Ends.
those two I've watched as well. Yes.
Yeah, I have not seen the newest one. Uh, I'm
Did
not.
you did you did you enjoy the other ones?
I thought that Halloween 2018 was interesting.
Yeah.
There were some things that I liked about it. Uh, but the thing that I liked about it the most were the references to the original.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just thought that that was cool.
you're not the first person that actually mentioned that to me, that they liked it, that they tried to bring it back to like the original. I
Yeah.
actually heard that before.
The second one, Halloween Kills, it felt a little scattered. It was just kind of like all over the place. But I was kind of giving it a pass because I felt like, okay, this movie is just the bridge from the first one to the last one.
Yeah.
So hopefully when the last one comes out, this one will make more sense. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen the last one.
Yeah. Same.
I'm definitely gonna see it because Halloween is actually my favorite horror franchise.
Yes,
Um,
Michael Myers. But if it comes to the old ones, I really like Nightmare on Elm Street. But
Me too.
because of the special effects at the time, I
Yeah.
think Nightmare on Elm Street was like the top of the list.
I
Oh,
have to agree, man. All those practical effects were so fucking cool back in the day. Um,
absolutely.
and then like all the stuff that you can see now, like all the behind the scenes material that's included on like a lot of the DVDs, or I'm sure it's online too. But like where they show how those sets were built and how they pulled off those effects, mind blowing shit, man. It's
Mind
fucking
blowing. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think I have to check it out because I never really did the research on it on how they did those effects. But since there were like basically like no computers, everything was like handmade and DIY, and that's why I love it. You know?
Yeah. Dude, you should watch that the behind the scenes of the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Like you know that scene where Tina's getting murdered and like being dragged across the ceiling and shit?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Of course, yeah, I know the scene.
Dude, the way they built that set
Yeah.
was insane.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah,
So just take
I
my word for
definitely
it
want
and
to check
watch
it
it.
out.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's move on to the live Q&A here. Let's see what we've got
Yeah,
from the audience.
somebody texted something if I've seen or somebody's seen the new Jeepers Creepers. I have not seen the Jeepers Creepers. I've seen the first one, and I think the second, and I think the third one was a little bit ass. But I heard there's like another one now. I don't really know.
I knew that there was a new one coming out, but I didn't know that it was already released.
Yeah, I don't know if it's out already, but I didn't like the latest one that they made. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, most people that I've talked to about that weren't fan. I haven't even seen it, but they weren't fans of it. I thought the first one was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Okay, first question. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can actually read. First question comes from ADANONE1. Out of none one. Not a question, but much love from your friends in corrupted youth. Kick it when you're back in LA, or we might see you next year. Rebellion, maybe escape the boring life. Okay, so shout out
Yeah.
from some
Perfect.
of our
Yeah.
corrupted youth.
Yeah. Most kisses and love back. I love those guys. So.
You spent some time in Los Angeles.
Yes, we were invited to the LA Punk Invasion Fest in 2019. We were invited by Nacho, who organized the festival, and we were then sleeping at their like the Corrupted Youth house and stuff, and amazing time. It was beautiful. It was great.
I have to ask, while you were there, did you try any of the Mexican food?
Any Mexican food? No, I don't think so. No.
God damn
No.
it. Next time you go, you have to do that.
Because I like my wife and stuff, we're like vegetarian and vegan, so there's mostly Mexican food, like lots of cheese and stuff. It's
right.
No.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It's a weakness for me, man. I mean
Yeah.
when I first moved there, like one of the first things I tried was this Mexican food place called Mocha Salsa, and I was just blown away by how good the food was.
Yeah, I bet that the Mexican food in California is probably better than the one in Wyoming. Oh.
You know what? I'm seeing some comments here. Revolt and Destroy says street tacos, homie. Yeah, the street
These
tacos
tacos, yeah.
are amazing. And
Yeah, but I
then,
bet there's like lots of like that California. I bet has like lots of like vegan tacos now. I bet.
yeah, that's what Out and
Yep.
One would just commented too. They said, we got that
Oh yeah,
vegan
we got
shit
that
now.
vegan shit now. Oh yeah.
Okay. Next question comes from our friends in the Shivers. Dude, our show is next week and you're doing this interview and not our shirts. What the heck? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Love you, David. Hero.
Yeah. Yeah, the Shivers. I used to print their band merch when they started. They're a local band here from Wyoming. Great guys, of course. But yeah, right now I'm just busy, busy giving interviews and stuff.
Yeah, man. I actually had the Shivers on here, but we had technical difficulties and the interview got cut short. So I actually need to reschedule their interview. But from the little bit of conversation I had, very cool guys.
Yeah, they're pretty friendly, pretty good guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question comes from Yvonne Marie. Jason, will the Havoc be coming out to Punk Rock Bowling in 2023? Great question.
Let me answer that for you. Yes.
It's a great question. I don't know. Some of the other guys might make it. I doubt that I'll make it. Not that I don't want to be there. But Las Vegas is, a bit of a distance from Oklahoma compared to being in Los Angeles. I know that there's kind of a lot of tentative things on the calendar for 2023 for the Havoc, as well as some of our other projects. And so I don't know how that's all going to shape up yet and if we're going to be able to go out there. But I would fucking love to. I'd love to play that, even if it's not like the main fest, but like they have shows, at some of the other local venues, pre-show fest or whatever. So maybe that'll happen at some point. I can tell you that since we have a new record coming out, we plan on getting out there and playing as much as we can. And if there's promoters out there that want to book us, all it takes is a direct message. Just hit up our inbox and we'll see what we can work out. Okay. Let's see. Next question comes from the Dirty Eyes. They ask, favorite European punk bands?
Yeah, is that a question for you? Yeah, please answer. I'm interested too.
My favorite European punk bands? Fuck. One of my favorites has got to be Oxymoron, and Broken Bones.
Okay. Classics.
Yeah, two classics that I absolutely love. But also kind of more on the rock side, it's hard to not mention Coxpar or Stiff Little Fingers. Again, just classic bands, but like no matter how much time has passed, whenever I throw those bands on, it's like I'm, 17 again. And I fucking love those bands. So
same.
How about for you, David?
I think in my all-time favorite bands, I can definitely say that it's Oxymoron. It is one of those bands where I can listen to every single song, every single album, basically non-stop. The same with his other band, Bad Co Project, which was also the reason why I thought, well, I guess I'm going to wear a ski mask today, because on the Bad Co Project album, Sucker Stories, he's wearing a ski mask. So I was like, yeah, that's dope, So here we are.
Okay, let's see. Next question comes from that British guy. He says, I've been trying to book a few local shows in my area, and it could just be because I'm 15, but I have had trouble finding bands. Do you have any recommendations for how to find other musicians or how to approach them about a show? That question wasn't directed towards either of us, but
Yeah.
David, do you want to take a stab at that? I could answer also.
Um, I definitely understand his struggle, like your struggle, because when I was younger, when I started booking shows, that's probably one of the toughest parts is to find bands, and it's just hard, man. Just keep trying. I had to keep trying, like I had to keep trying so damn often, but it's definitely worth it because it unites the scene. You can meet great people, and people will always appreciate it if you put up shows for them. So
This is one of those things that is kind of difficult, because things have changed so much from when I was first getting into the scene. Back then, like if you wanted to be involved in the scene, and especially if you wanted to book bands or whatever, the only way really to do that was to go to shows and
yeah,
make your presence known. And the only way that you can do that is to get out of your comfort zone and introduce yourself to people and network with them. And you know, when I was 15, a lot of the bands that were kind of active were older than I was, and in a lot of ways they were kind of intimidating. So it made it hard to approach them. So if you are, you know, in that same situation, I would say that, you know, even if these guys might look like they're going to kick your ass, that's probably not the case at all. They're actually probably really fucking cool dudes. And if you approach them and let them know that you're interested in booking them for a show, they're going to want to have a conversation with you, because everybody that's in a band and is active with their band is always looking for new opportunities to play.
oh, absolutely.
But also you have this resource right here. We have social media. And it never
Yeah, I
hurt.
remember when I started booking shows, it was via MySpace in the beginning.
Yeah, man, the MySpace days. I fucking hated that shit when it first came out, but now I'm like, can we go back to that? That was way cooler than
Right?
we have now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, sending bands a direct message, commenting on their posts is a good way to get their attention too. Sometimes bands don't pay attention to their inboxes, but they pay attention to comments. So keep those things in mind. Okay, next question comes from Jesus Crust 420. Tips on studding your leather jacket. David, you've got a lot of experience with this. I know you do. Let's hear it.
First of all, I think that's probably the most annoying thing about being punk is having to stud your jacket. Uh, yeah. I don't think I have any tips. Sorry, dude. Oh,
I have some
I hate
tips.
it, dude. I hate it. Oh,
Yeah, it is a bit of a daunting task.
yeah.
But the thing that I have found to be the easiest, if you get any studs that are of higher quality, they're going to have a sharp point on the end of them already. And you can use that to basically make an indentation on the leather. So place it where you want it, press it down kind of hard, and then take it off. You'll see the indentation. What I like to use is an ice pick. You can take an ice pick, poke it through that indented hole, and it creates enough of a hole in the leather that isn't too big to where the stud is just going to fall out of it. So it keeps it kind of snug. And then I like to use a pair of needle nose pliers to close the teeth on the backside of the stud against the backside of the leather. That's
Because
my recommendation.
after flipping like 20 studs or something, like your fingers are starting to like bleed and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't think that you're going to stud an entire leather jacket in one weekend.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it takes a lot of time. So, you know, just enjoy it. You know, just go a little bit at a time, and, you know, it'll come together.
Yeah, I have this leather jacket, by the way, now since a couple of years, and it's still not done. So that's how long it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Okay, this next question comes from Arise.isera, which is Arise backwards. Your favorite German punk bands or any recommendations? Excellent question.
Oxymoron, as mentioned already, is a German band. I also like the 80s West German punk band Vorkriegsjugend. They only released one full album, but it's all in German too. There's other 80s punk bands like Toxoplasma, Es Eskaliert, of course. Past Pocken, their latest album of Past Pocken is great. It's amazing. Definitely check the Past Pocken one out. It's awesome.
Cool. Next question comes from our good friends in Goners UK. They ask, David and Jason, what was your first big punk show?
So my first punk show, or one of the first big punk shows, I think there was GBH. I remember I saw GBH very early on, like one of the first bands. Also to this day, still one of my favorite live bands. I've seen Antidote in the early 2000s, in maybe like 2000 or 2001. I've seen Antidote from the Netherlands, still one of my favorite bands. It is hard to remember. It's a long time ago, and after a while, it just blends. So it's hard to remember what shows I've seen and which didn't.
For me, I saw some bigger bands when I was a teenager, but they weren't necessarily big shows because the audience wasn't really large. Part of that is because, in the late 90s in Oklahoma, it was hard to attract an audience because the punk scene wasn't that big here. So a lot of times I would have to go down to Dallas to see some good bands with a larger audience.
How long is that drive?
Say that again?
How long is the drive?
It's
Like
about
Dallas?
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not terrible. Worth it for the bands that you really want to see.
Absolutely.
I actually saw Oxymoron in Dallas. I think it was 99. It might have been 2000. They played at a venue in Dallas called Trees, which is still there. And they were so good. And I was surprised at how little of a crowd there was. There couldn't have been, I don't think there was even 150 people there. But it was a great show. One of the biggest shows I saw at that time was I saw the Misfits when they had Graves on vocals. I saw them in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I saw them in I think it was San Antonio, Texas. They played there with Guar, and both of those shows were fucking massive. Really, really cool shows. I think we have one more. Oh, maybe some more have come through here. Let's see here. This one comes from Stay Out of Order. What's your favorite German and favorite U.S. beer?
U.S. beer. To be honest, it is complicated and if you know European beer, not just German beer, but European beer, it's complicated to like U.S. beer if you know European beer. But I think my favorite is still just the PBR. I'm a pretty simple guy, but I think PBR or Rolling Walk, I guess the cheap stuff here. That's one of my favorite. And I think in Germany, it's called Sternburger, best beer. And They even have like a punk fest, the beer company. They're setting up like a once a year. I think the Sternburg Fan Fest, where like punk bands and stuff are playing. And yeah.
I don't drink anymore, but my favorite, I don't have any experience with German beers, but my favorite U.S. beer, I actually have to agree. I fucking really love PBR. When it's ice cold, that shit hits just right, man.
Right.
So especially on a hot day.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I was always just drinking what was cheap.
Same. Yeah. That's a punk rock way of life, you know.
Yep. Let's see. Last question comes from Biting the Bullet 82. What TV shows are you into now?
TV shows. Well, I'm watching. I'm not really into shows. Like I watched, of course, since everybody was hyping it up, the Dharma show on Netflix. I was watching. I think I was watching The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. I was watching, especially since it seems like pretty accurate to like the U.S. Politics right now. So it's kind of like crazy and scary, especially for, of course, for women. And then I watch a lot of South Park stuff like this. You know?
It's funny that you mentioned Dahmer because that was actually going to be my answer.
Yeah.
I have one episode left, and you know I learned about Evan Peters from American Horror Story.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that he's done an excellent job with whatever character he is portraying.
I agree. Yeah.
So when I saw that he was going to be doing this role as Jeffrey Dahmer, I was like, man, it's going to be good. Like,
yeah.
No matter what, it's just going to be good.
And did you like it? Did you?
I have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where the thing that I find the most interesting are the details about his relationship with his parents, because I never knew the dynamic.
Yeah, same.
And as a parent now, it's very difficult to think about, you know, if your child was, you know, that type of person and how you would respond to it. And I think every parent wants the best for their child. I mean, I would hope that every parent wants,
absolutely.
You know, but I think the show is intentionally highlighting the dangers of mental illness and how trauma and mental illness combined, as well as DNA, can be a disastrous recipe. And why it's so important now for us to focus on the importance of mental health for humanity as a whole. Because people that endure trauma and go through life with mental illness that's untreated, they can wreak havoc on society and hurt innocent people.
I think it would also be helpful if being homosexual would just be seen as normal, because many people, as also in the Dharma case, that he was like suppressing like his feelings that he was homosexual, and which comes with a lot of depression. And I think it would definitely be better if everybody can just love, of course, who they ever they want to. And I think this also has like was a big problem, or is still a big problem, that people can't be whoever they want to be. And yeah. I think it was also that he was like, as I said, like depressed because he wasn't able to like love whoever he wants to love.
I couldn't agree more. I can't help but think about the industry that I work in. I've talked about this on the show before, but I'm in the construction industry. I'm a union carpenter, and homophobia is rampant
Yeah,
in that industry.
I bet especially in the scene where it's like construction and very like male based.
Right. But the interesting thing is that the construction industry has more suicides than any other industry. But there is also absolutely people in that community that identify as something other than heterosexual, but are too afraid or
Yeah,
embarrassed or ashamed or whatever to come out because of the industry they work in. So,
exactly.
you know, you take the statistics of construction workers that commit suicide and you combine that with the same statistics of people that commit suicide that aren't heterosexual, and it's frightening.
Yeah,
And my heart really goes out to those people that they feel that they can't be themselves because
exactly.
they know they're going to be judged or hated or both. And, it's just like the world needs to get the fuck over it. Like people are who they are. I don't believe that people choose to be something other than heterosexual. I don't, I think it's just like any other attraction. Like, you are attracted to what you're attracted to, not because you chose it. It just
Exactly.
in your
Absolutely.
nature.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and the sooner the world realizes that, and society makes a conscious effort to embrace individuality and to eliminate homophobia, the better it's going to be for the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
You know, why is it we can't have compassion for fellow human beings? I don't fucking get
And
it.
it's so simple, and we have so many, we achieved so many things, and then something so simple like just liking somebody else who's maybe the same gender, or it's all of a sudden this world problem. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think that most people are a product of their environment. And I can attest to that growing up in Oklahoma because it's the Bible Belt. And, there are an insane amount of churches and bars and now dispensaries in
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think I've seen this many like in this small Wyoming town. There's are so many churches. It's literally insane, and everybody believes somewhat in the same, but they're all called different, and then they have still different beliefs a little bit.
right.
It's crazy.
But, growing up in this kind of area um, where religion is a tremendous part of the culture, you're basically taught from birth that homosexuality is wrong and it's evil. And if people don't ever take themselves out of whatever bubble they belong to and try to open their mind to different perspectives, then those things that are ingrained into them from childhood carry over into their adulthood, and then they pass that on to their children.
Yeah, it's the same with like fascist ideas, for example.
Right. But there are those people that will take a stand and use their voice to make a difference and say,
Yeah,
hey, this is bullshit. you know, and this is why. Um,
And I think it's very easy actually to like overcome your fears of like the unknown, like the your neighbor, or if somebody likes another man or a woman likes another woman or whatever. And it's pretty easy because all you have to do is basically to get out, to travel, to read history books, and you can learn that in history books you can learn that fascism was wrong. With traveling, you realize that everybody's the same. It doesn't matter if you're from America or South Africa or Asia. Everybody likes the same shit, you know, or hates the same shit or whatever. Like, I don't know, but you know,
yeah, I mean,
it's pretty simple to get out of your bubble if you actually want to be out of your bubble.
yeah,
I feel like.
man, I really love that our conversation went in this direction because as much as I love talking about punk rock and, you know, other topics that we discuss on the show, like horror and movies and all of that, these type of topics are something that I feel are really important, not just for our community in the punk rock world, but just for humanity in general.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so I'm glad that we're able to talk about it, man, and that the audience can hear your perspective and mine, as well as make their own contribution with their comments. So it's fucking awesome, man.
Yes.
Um, we are getting to the end of our time here, unfortunately. But before I let you go, I want to ask if you've got any shout outs that you'd like to give.
Let me think. Yes, of course. Much love to my beautiful wife. She's at work. I saw that I think she was watching and texting sometimes in between. So, uh, of course, best greets to everybody who was watching and sitting through this. I don't know how long we were talking, maybe like an hour. So yeah, much love to everybody who was watching. Uh, Everybody who ever bought any of my shirts or went to any of my shows. Uh, Birthday greets also to one of my best boys in Germany. His name is Lenny. He also lives in Berlin and he helps me with the show booking and all that kind of stuff. So happy birthday to you, buddy. And yeah, it was great to be here, man.
Awesome. Um, if people are interested in purchasing your shirts, where's the best place for them to find that?
I think it's the easiest is just here on Instagram to just swoosh through. Most stuff is usually sold out, and because most of the time I keep it for maybe like a month or something, and then the shirts are gone, and I like try to make like new stuff. So just try to follow me on Instagram and just see what's up.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Would you like to announce who next week's guest is going to be?
Okay, so the next week's guest is going to be someone super special. Is you? You are the new guest.
That's right.
Yeah.
Next week, I will be the guest. Our good friend Rob from Goners UK will be interviewing me. I'll still be hosting the show, but we thought that since next week is my birthday week, it would be a good time to finally do kind of a Havoc interview, a Jason Havoc interview, whatever you want to call it. It's been discussed multiple times in the last several months, and we're finally going to make it happen. So tune in next week and get your questions ready, man. I'm really looking forward to talking with all of you guys about everything that's on the horizon in my life. Having said that, David, thank you so much for being my guest here on Punk Rock Talk,
Yeah,
man.
it
So
was
awesome
great to
having you
be
on.
here. Thanks for the invite, man, and I hope I can see you in real life someday soon, man.
Hell yeah, man. We're going to make that happen. I think sometime next year for sure.
Oh, absolutely nice. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching too.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
To play us out, this is Wolfskin Killer by Zombies. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Later.